Well, I think you can add New Hampshire and potentially Saskatoon to potential cities that could host some hockey night whenever, things get better with the ongoing global pandemic with the COVID-19 or coronavirus here. But we can add in those potential cities here. Obviously, there's going to be some neutral site games that are going to be hosting NHL hockey down the road here if we are to conclude the 2019-20 NHL regular season and have playoffs here without fans. But it's definitely, I don't know if you could say encouraging, but at least Commissioner Gary Bettman still keeps going on the motion of we're going to salvage something somehow. And he was actually recently talking to the governor of New Hampshire, and it would be Manchester that would be hosting potential games here. And I know Saskatoon also has vied, and I know all those communities have at least a rink of over 10,000 fans here. But it's definitely going to be interesting on how to pull this off here. I mean, it's a combination of all speculation and also the fact that, I keep talking about the hockey guy being the YouTuber that inspired me to make more videos myself here. There's definitely a lot of things you got to still figure out on how we're going to pull this off to conclude, the season and have a playoffs and eventually award the Stanley Cup here. And then Gary Bettman always keeps mentioning that, the NHL has even a greater opportunity to try to get themselves back on TV here, as with the ongoing global pandemic here with the COVID-19 here, that the Olympics were scheduled to be in Tokyo this year, has been pushed back to next year, and now you're starting to hear stories about, is that going to happen too? But now that there's no Olympics happening this year here, and myself and many other sports fans out there are starving for some sports, and whoever is the first league to figure out, I mean, the NBA is still pondering options, but the NBA doesn't seem to be as optimistic as the NHL on salvaging something here about having sports again, to at least conclude the regular season. As the case of the Calgary Flames, they still had 12 games left on the schedule here, and then playoffs here, and then you hear other possibilities that maybe this would be the time to talk about it, is expanding the playoff format and potentially have more than 16 teams in the race to compete for the Stanley Cup here. I mean, obviously, the NHL has to still be committed to concluding the season and playoffs here because draft, free agency, they have been, put off. They've been postponed. And then the NHL draft was scheduled to be in Montreal this year. I don't think it's going to be in that traditional form in the arena here, especially with all the social distancing restrictions here. And I mean, we're still waiting to hear from, World Health experts and the governments here on how we're going to do this because the border between Canada and the U.S. have agreed to stay closed to only essentials until at least the third week of May here. But I mean, if hockey was going to come back, it would definitely not happen at least till July and August here, and I would be fine with that because at least it's back, whatever form it'll be back in, and also the fact that like many of us, travel plans have pretty much been out the window here, so it definitely gives something to look forward to in the summer. I'm just looking forward to if the NHL does come back, in Grand Forks, North Dakota, or Saskatoon or Manchester, New Hampshire here, that I'll get the sports in the summer here. But let's just say if all this happens when it happens, and then it probably push back the start of the 2020-21 season till November here. I can only imagine what the off season would be like. Whatever we know, it would definitely be much more compressed here on getting free agent frenzy, the draft, and all that in at the same time here, depending on how things go here. Because whenever the NHL decides to say we're back, there's going to have to be at least a couple weeks of training camp first because we need to get the players back in game shape again here too. So could maybe that compressed, regular season playoffs and off season here, we probably might have a shorter training camp here, especially, there's definitely going to be a lot more moving. And then the other thing here you've also heard about other updates here is what the heck's going to happen to the cap next year or the next couple of years. I know the NHL was implementing a system where the cap would be known for the next couple of seasons so you can plan for a year, but given all this uncertainty and everything being paused and revenues going down here, you got to wonder, could the cap be going down here? That's where that escrow definitely will be coming in, where players are going to have to give back some of their money to the league there, so it's 50-50 for the players and the league there. But then you also heard other sources saying that the cap is going to be flat the next couple of years too, so be interested to see how that goes here. But there's definitely going to be a lot more activity and frenzy. Free agent frenzy definitely will be more of a frenzy, especially with a shorter off season, knowing once we know how hockey is going to come back and when the season's going to be next season. But I would still be totally fine having hockey, talking about games again, recapping games, even if it's in the middle of summer and well into September toward the Stanley Cup, and start the season in November and then compress it so you can have the cup come back, in June in 2021 here. But this is definitely another hockey update that we might be having some hockey night in New Hampshire and Saskatoon here. But I think the only way they can pull it off is you need to have some neutral site games that, some central area, because players are definitely going to be players, staff, coaching, trainers, even the Zamboni guy, maybe Dave Ayers, hopefully, or profile Zamboni drivers that could potentially be an emerging backup goal here. But there's definitely going to be a lot more monitoring and a lot more sequestered too about the players and that, given everything's going on. Because if the players are going to come back and play there, they're definitely going to be very, very isolated to only just the immediate community. It's almost like an astronaut going to the moon there. You're not going to see someone for months or going away on deployment there. Maybe you'll see some more dog reunion videos here if that happens, where have professional athletes seeing their dog again. I love watching those videos just to see the dog's reaction there. But still a lot of ideas being put out here. But I just definitely would like my hockey back somehow and all my other sports here. But it's just another update video to keep pumping out sports content as well on my channel here, because I've definitely been busier making all my other secondary stuff here. But I'm still primarily a sports fan here. And speaking of that, if you enjoy everything that I do on my channel, do follow along with this Calgary sports fan's journey. Just make sure you hit like, subscribe. Home of the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders here. I mostly do Calgary sports and other sports stories, but I also do personal vlogs, attempt at comedy. And I think given what's been going on here, it's going to be a while before you're going to see any new videos of me being on the road or at a sporting event there. But those are all the things that I mostly put on my channel here. So if that sounds like you'd be interested to watch, do follow along with this Calgary sports fan's journey. You know what you need to do. I also have my other social media links down in the description below there. So as I say here, go Flames go, and we'll be cheering for them wherever they want to be playing. Saskatoon, North Dakota, Grand Forks, South Dakota, or Manchester, New Hampshire here. It's all still more ideas here that the NHL could salvage this thing and, put the product on TV and finish the season, have a playoffs, award the Stanley Cup, and then hopefully get back into here. But it's still uncertain on when the Calgary Flames will be playing in front of the Sea of Red again in the form that we know of all the years here. But until then, I'll see you in the next video.